Thank you very much. The next item and final item of the day that's currently before you is, and just to provide you with a recap on this particular agenda item, the claimants, Puna Alliance, Pele Defense Fund, Sierra Club Moku'ola Group, Ohana Ho'opakere, Malu'aina et al. Submitted a claim before the Windward Planning Commission for the release of funds from the Geothermal Asset Fund for a geothermal impact mitigation project described as a psychosocial impact and community well-being study in the amount of $293,760 to conduct a baseline and prospective psychosocial impact assessment on the Big Island of Hawaii in order to identify both past, existing, and potential adverse impacts upon Native Hawaiians associated with the development of geothermal energy generation facilities. The claim that was submitted also includes a request by the claim also includes a request that the Windward Planning Commission establish a Native Hawaiian Health Study Review Board that would provide advice in the conduct of the study and keep the Windward Planning Commission informed as to the progress of the study. This particular claim was transmitted to John Mullen and Company, the claim adjuster approved by the Windward Planning Commission in accordance with your rule number 12 regarding the Geothermal Asset Fund. Your claim adjuster reviewed the subject claim against the requirements of rule number 12 with their recommendation, along with all of the material provided by the claimants, was subsequently made a part of your planning director's background report that was provided to you in advance of your January 8, 2015 meeting on this particular matter. At your January 2015 meeting, the Commission voted to reject the recommendation of the claims adjuster and to award the claim as submitted, while also directing the Planning Department to investigate the process of establishing a Native Hawaiian Health Study Review Board to be comprised of Native Hawaiians, if possible, that will provide advice in the conduct of the study and to keep you informed as to the progress of the study and to provide you with an outline regarding the establishment of this review board and the process in which they would advise the Commission. Chairman Miyasato, who conducted the meeting at that time, and Chairman Miyasato at the Commission's next meeting held on February 5, 2015, directed that a discussion and action on the motion for reconsideration brought forth by Commissioner Ikeda of your January 8 action on this particular matter be placed on today's agenda, which is where we all stand at this moment. So that concludes my brief update leading up to today's meeting. Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Darren. Assistant Corporation Counsel Bill Brillhante.
My apologies.
Assistant Corporation Counsel Bill Brillhante will do a short presentation regarding concerns and make a recommendation.
Hi. Good morning, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners and planning director as well as corp counsel. William Brillhante, Assistant Corporation Counsel. The reason that the planning department initially took a second look at this proposed application for the claim was, we kind of looked at the practical effect of, what would actually happen if this matter were to go forward. And, as the claim is currently written, due to various issues with, the county's requirement that it complies with the state procurement code for release of all contractual obligations, whether it be funds or, agreement of the county to seek professional assistance. The issues that were raised here, and again, we know it was the, how should I say, it was the desire of this commission to grant the claim. And the basis and the justification for granting the claim were all valid. But I think the reason that we have a concern as a department is because the practical effect of what's going to happen is this claim is going to go forward, but due to the deficiencies in the claim as it relates to issues with the procurement code and as well as the condition for the creation of the review committee, the practical effect of what's going to happen is this claim is going to go forward and then nothing will follow from it. It would most often, more than likely, sit at the finance department and the funds would not be released because nobody, I could almost assure you, nobody within the county finance department would want to do anything that would violate the state procurement law. So the specific issues are, one is, as the claim currently reads, there's a specific item within the claim to pay particular individuals, definitive sums of money. And I think if you look at HRS section 103, D-101 and 301, that's something that the county can't do, beforehand. The requirement is that every claim or every contractual obligation that the county enters into has to offer a fair opportunity for everybody who may be qualified to perform the work or duties or responsibilities under that contract has an opportunity to submit a bid on it, except if there's an item of such specific nature that it falls with one of our professionals who are already on the county list to do that type of work. And it's unfortunate that within this claim is a specification that a particular individual and a particular entity would be awarded the contract, and there's specific sums of money within the contract, which kind of raised the red flag. Some, the payment to the individual was, $1,000 for an hour a day for review work, and $2,000 a day to come and actually do site visits and the like. And so those are the reasons as it relates to the procurement issue. The secondary issue was regarding the creation of a review board. And the problem with that, again, is, you guys are very powerful as a commission. Unfortunately, within your scope of authority or jurisdiction, you don't have that authority to create an independent review board. You do have the authority to create an ad hoc committee within your commission consisting or comprised of your volunteer commissioners to sit in such a capacity, but unfortunately the way the claim was written and the way the approval was issued from the commission, the language and the approval was more analogous to a creation of an independent quote-unquote review board, and so that's something that is problematic. So the recommendation, based on those two primary issues of concern, which were briefly identified within the letter, the December 17, 2014 letter from the claims adjuster, where he recommended denial of the claim, he alluded to these issues as well. So I just wanted to bring to your attention, we're looking at the practical effect. If the commission is desirous of, having the community move forward with the study, engaging in the study, you're desirous, you identify the beneficial effects of having such a study, then what I sure hate to happen is that this approval moves forward, and at the end of the day, nothing really happens because of the legal, defects within the actual claim. I think, the desire of the commission is to have this move forward and let's get this going. And if that's the case, I just wanted to raise those issues. So that being said, my recommendation would be to remand the claim back to the planning department. Have the planning department work with the applicant to address these two specific areas, maybe an amendment, a redrafting of that portion of the claim, resubmitting it to the claims adjuster after the corrections are made, and moving forward from there. And I'm not sure if the planning director has anything else to add. I hope I was able to articulate those concerns clearly.
Members of the commission, the issues we're raising are primarily procedural, and not, we're not in opposition to the commission's desire to go ahead and issue this particular claim. We just want to make sure that procedurally that it's all in place. I believe both corporation councils will validate that in lieu of a specific claim for damages, this particular aspect and also some of the other claims that were issued for proposals by the mayor are not those kinds of specific claims which, once validated could be paid, but these are claims for studies, contractual work that all need to fall under the procurement requirement of the state of Hawaii and the county of Hawaii.
That's correct, Director. This actual claim is not, like the Director was saying, for a specific injury, related to a specific injury. It's more analogous to Section 3, which is a claim for a community-approved mitigation project, so it would fall under that component.
Commissioners, any questions?
I have some questions.
Yes, Commissioner Hinkle.
Bill, thank you for that, and I understand the issues with procurement laws. But how is this different from when we funded, I don't know, what was the phrase, meta study or study of a study? How is this different than when we funded that one?
My understanding and my review of the application that came in from the mayor's office regarding funding the study for the metadata was that the RFP process for that one, or the final entity who would conduct the study, wasn't specifically identified. So an RFP process was initiated by the county, the finance department, in conjunction with the mayor's office, and there was a competitive proposal, a notice for submission of bids was provided to everybody, and a review committee was established, and a particular entity was, I'm not sure if a particular entity was specifically identified. My understanding is that the county is currently engaged in the RFP process, so no awardee has been identified, so the process is still going through the competitive bid process. Whereas in this case, the claimant specifically identified a particular entity with actual funds, assigned to the work, and and it doesn't afford the opportunity for anybody else who would be able or feels that they're qualified to do the work to competitively present a proposal to do the work.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate this position showing up, so I didn't review those. But I thought that when the proposal came to us for the meta study or the metadata study or whatever that was it was the medical school that was the identified procurement entity.
In that case, on procurement law, if the UH or educational component of the UH system is identified as the fund recipient, then that's one of the exceptions within the procurement code. So that is afforded a contract with the University of Hawaii or one of its entities.
Okay, you lost me. So are they in the bidding process or are they exempted from the bidding process?
As there were 2 studies funded, right? Back in November. I'm just recalling from memory.
Me too.
I don't know it just off the top of my head. There were 4 items identified, approved.
Yeah, there was a study to assess the groundwater quality, the meta-analysis, and the soil contamination for the brine ponds at HGPA 1.
So, Director Kanuha, you have the communication from the mayor's office regarding the status of the current application.
According to the mayor's office, those 3 are underway. They're in the final stages of the RFP for the health study component, and this was as of January.
So my understanding is that the metadata study was specific to the UH, so I believe, and I don't want to give a firm response, but it's my understanding that that contract went forward because it's contracting with the UH school to do the analysis. The health study, which was approved for $750,000, that's the study that I was referring to that's currently in the RFP process. So this study would be more analogous to the health study because the proposal is for an independent entity outside of the UH system to conduct the study.
Commissioners, any other questions?
Just want to put it out there for the commission that if the commission would like to discuss the procedural issues from the commission's perspective, I am prepared to discuss that, but I think that would best be done in executive session.
I'll take you up on that. I'd like to move that we move into executive session regarding item number 6 pursuant to 92-5A4 for the purposes of consulting with the Commission's attorney on some questions and issues pertaining to this issue.
Any second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Keokalani and seconded by Commissioner Ikeda. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? We're going into executive session. If everyone can please leave the room. Thank you. Meeting will now come to order. Corporation Counsel will briefly discuss the procedure for the motion to reconsider.
Thank you, Chair. So, just so everyone's on the same page as to what's going to happen, so the public and the claimants are going to be able to provide testimony. Once the testimony is done, Commissioner Ikeda would either need to affirm his motion or withdraw it. If he affirms his motion, there would need to be a second to the motion. If there's a second to the motion, then the motion to reconsider will be discussed. If there's no second to the motion fails, and the Commission's prior decision stands. If the motion is discussed and voted upon and passes, at that point, the Commission would need to entertain further motions for action on the claim.
Thank you. So we will proceed with public testimony. And we do have public testimony. Excuse me. Will the applicant or representative please come forward and be seated at the table in front of the commission prior to public testimony?
Is that for the vote?
All of us? Yes.
Or the designated representative.
No, I can't speak to you.
You need another chair?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter? I'm just waiting for this gentleman here. Now before the Hawaii County Planning Commission. Thank you. You may begin your presentation or testimony by first stating your name and place of residence and speaking directly into the microphone. Starting with
Corey Harden with Sierra Club Mokulua Group. I'd like to thank you all for your volunteer service. We appreciate your past support, and we hope you will find a way to move this study forward. The geothermal industry in Puna, unfortunately, is classic environmental injustice. It's low income and indigenous people suffering the impacts of industry while people elsewhere reap the benefits. I was going to ask that you discuss the reconsideration in open session, not executive session, but that's passed already. So I'll just, again, appreciate your past support and hope it will continue. Thank you.
Aloha, Commissioners. My name is Terry Napiahi, representative of the Penalty Defense Fund. And my presentation this morning will focus on a health study comparison that would
Terry,
be helpful. Yes.
where do you reside? Sorry.
Oh, I reside in Hilo.
Hilo.
Okay. And the reason for using this comparison, because it was done by the University of Hawaii, Dr. Tanabe, and the John C. Burns School of Medicine. And this comparison, I think, is something that could be used in your decision making as to how Dr. Tanabe was able to do a comparison on health and the traditional beliefs. And it was amazing, the results. So this morning I'd like to present this so that you can make a just and rational decision on whether or not to support the health study in regards to the traditional beliefs and how it had an impact with this study. And so my points will be directed to how important this opportunity will be to the Native Hawaiian community in respect of our traditional belief and value systems, and how it has a direct relationship to the health and wellness of your community. And there was a healthcare study done for the Japanese American immigrant that had left their homes years ago to come to America, actually. But it was focused mainly on the immigrants of Hawaii, and basically how they use variables and important components, key components to come up with the reason for this health study in the Japanese American elders. And it's amazing, the results of this study that was done by Dr. Tanabe, because of its positive results. They left their homeland so that they could come to have a better lifestyle for their people. And I think there's a Japanese term for that, kodo mon tamini. Where is it? Yes, did I say it right?
Kodomo no tameni.
Okay, which means for the sake of the children. And basically, the key components to the studies was important for them to have a thorough completion. And it had to do with their traditions and their beliefs and how it directly related to their health. The Japanese community in this study had the highest rate of life expectancy for that group of people that had come here. Also, the lowest rate of heart cardiovascular problems, as well as strokes. And in this study that you can read, it was because of their determination to keep their cultural identity by holding on to their beliefs. It was important that this whole group of people maintain something like that. And the result of that was a healthy life. And so that they managed to maintain and acquire. And which brings me to the component that they used. One of the components, well, two. One was religion, and the other was the level of acculturation. And what does that mean? Level of acculturation. It was, sorry. It was the belief of holding on to a traditional belief in the family because it was important. It gave them strength, and it worked. And so, which brings me to this idea of our Hawaiian community. And the direct relationship, I believe, we have with our health and the disparities that have been, and a high percentage of disparities that come to our group of people, and our Native group of people throughout the years. And I believe it has a direct relationship to our continual fight to identify who we are as a culture in our own homeland and our environment. And I'll give you an example. Our continual emotional distress watching a sacred mountain be desecrated, watching our iwi kupuna, our ancestors, being dug, and watching the desecration of a deity like Tutupele being drilled by geothermal. And all of these things have a suppressive and oppressive motive to destroy and to disconnect our group of people from what is empowering them, and that is our traditional beliefs. So, I would hope that, this is tangible. This is something that you can look at. And I think she was pretty fair with her study at the University of Hawaii, and fair to use the religious and the level of acculturation in their perspective. And that it would not be complete without that, because of the fact that our Hawaiian people we're from this land, but we're not able to be who we are. That, I believe, affects our health, our mind, our style of living, and our will to continue to be who we are as a culture. So I would hope that as you make this decision, a wise and just decision, do it in the manner of the fact that our Native community is your community, and to have our family be, our Native community be as healthy as the American Japanese culture has, and managed to be in a place that is totally foreign for their families. But they managed to create a life for the sake of the children. And I think some of you sitting in the commission are descendants of just that you can identify to that and hope that you can hear our Native perspective and our cry to have somebody. I don't think you'll ever find a positive health study done in our Native community, ever. And so that's my request today.
Aloha, Commissioners. My name is Ronald Fujiyoshi, and I live in Hilo. This is only the second time I've ever been before the Windward Planning Commission. I came on January, I think it was the 8th, and testified, and I'm sorry that two of you were not present at that time. I'm also representing Ohana Hopakele, and if Palikapu Didman, our president, were here, he would be representing Ohana Hopakele, but he has business in Oahu today, so I'm sorry that he's not here. I feel strongly that something is not right with this process. And I understand, according to the Sunshine Law, that whatever is discussed before a county council body like a commission should be given 6 days notice, so that when I heard the Deputy Corporation Counsel speak, I wish I had that in writing 6 days ahead, because that would give the community and us who did the research to bring forward the Edelstein study time to explain why the merits of the study, which we argued the last time, is so overwhelming that you should go continue with the study. He made some reference, and I wish I had it in writing, about because this expert is not on a list of experts that the county has used in the past, you going out for RFP. Now, Edelstein, geothermal has been around a long time. And if there were anyone better than Edelstein, the name would have popped up a long time ago, but it hasn't. And we question that. I think in this case, the community has more knowledge about what is going on with geothermal than some of the people being hired by the county. Now, so I think that what is being done here is you're not giving not only the public, but those who have researched the reason for doing Edelstein to do the six-day study to come with more independent, intelligent arguments before you make this decision. Now, the last time, I think you did the right thing. And now we have two commissioners who weren't there at the last meeting voting on something when they weren't there present to hear the impact of the testimony the last time. I think it's bad. I think the two commissioners who represent Puna know better about geothermal than the others representing other parts of the county, and the rest of you should follow their example in their argument on what is best for Puna. And I wish, I just saying, I wish we had more time that we could prepare for this, because I think we would be able to present much better intelligent information for you to make a decision like this that wasn't shared with us. I called the planning director, the planning department, the phone number was there and the name, and I asked, what is the reason for this request for reconsideration? And the answer, which was called back on my answering machine, is we do not know. We just know that one commissioner asked for reconsideration, and we will know the same time as you will what the reasons are. And I don't think that's true, because we heard some things before this meeting that gave us more insight on what we could have prepared better on. So I really appeal that you stick with your original decision and not reconsider this. My understanding is the county has done studies in the past without RFP. And if that is true, then that you've done that before, then there's no reason for you at this point to do a RFP. Thank you.
I'm Tom Travis. I'm representing Punapono Alliance as its vice president, and also myself. I live in Puna. There have been 4 studies already authorized from the Geothermal Asset Fund. One of those studies was the $750,000 health study, which was awarded or is being awarded by an RFP. The second one was a meta-study of hydrogen sulfide studies done by the University of Hawaii. That one was not competitive, but as the Corp Council said, it was to the University of Hawaii. The third study was the groundwater study, which was done by the United States Geological Survey, and the groundwater study was awarded without an RFP. The final study was a soil sampling study at the old HGPA site, and as far as I know, that one was done without an RFP to a private contractor. So it would appear to me that on the surface, the county has the flexibility to award this contract without putting it into further procurement. The RFP is bothersome to me, and I'm going to bring up a different issue. The Adler Group recommended a health study this is the $750,000 health study, that recommended broadly how that health study should be done, and then recommended how the person that would do that study should be selected. There were 3 principles that the Adler Group used in making that recommendation of how the health study should be selected. Those 3 principles were that the process would be transparent, so that people could see how the health studies were rated and who was chosen. That there were true experts on the evaluation committee, and it provided procedures to find those experts. And finally, that there would be community input into that selection. When you, the Windward Planning Commission, approved that health study, I read the RFP that was submitted at the time. The RFP that was finally sent out for proposals did not include any of the provisions about expertise, transparency, or community involvement. So it is with some angst that I think that another study would go to the RFP where a procurement officer, without having any stipulations on how he does his evaluation, would be the person that chooses without input from the community or without input from experts. Finally, I agree with what Ron said about the sunshine. It would have been very convenient. I asked several people what this hearing was about. I was told that it was a reconsideration by one member, but the topic of the reconsideration or the purpose or why that occurred was never provided. So that the first time we found out today was when the Corporation Counsel made his presentation on procurement rules. Thank you for your time.
Aloha, Commissioners. My name is Jim Albertini. I'm a longtime Puna resident. I'm the president of Malu Aina organization in Kurtistown. And our farm was the hub for the Big Island Rainforest Action Group that for 30 years or more worked closely with the Pele Defense Fund and other community organizations on the geothermal issue. So I'm intimately knowledgeable on the history of concern in Puna. In fact, in 20 days from today, March 25th, that'll mark the 25th anniversary of one of the, if not the largest, civil disobedience actions in the history of Hawaii. When we had 2,000 people in Waukeleo, Opuna, and over 150 people arrested in nonviolent civil disobedience on a single day. That's 25 years ago, where we were standing with Hawaiians, calling for justice. And here we are today, now dealing with this thing that we had no knowledge of until we came here this morning, an RFP. I think it really is RFJ, Roadblock for Justice. That's what we're facing today. And I think, as a lot of people have said, justice delayed is justice denied. And I ask you to go forward with this Edelstein study today, that how long it's been too long. And I remember Donald Ikeda at the last meeting when we came, I shook his hand and I said, thank you. And I said, we've done the right thing, and you agreed with me. We've done the right thing. Let's not delay that. So I thank you, and I hope you feel the passion of the people, the need to stand in solidarity for the mistreatment of Native Hawaiians from geothermal development.
Commissioners, any questions? Yes, Commissioner Hinkle.
I'd like, it's not so much a question as a statement. I think there's been a misunderstanding of our purpose here today isn't to, deny. We certainly, delay is possibly on the agenda here, but what we're trying to do is to facilitate the release of these funds. It's come to our attention that if we let our previous action stand, that there's a chance that they might not be released, period. And to me, that would be a travesty. I live in Puna, I live downwind from geothermal, I lived there, before the geothermal plant was in existence, and I've been negatively impacted by the plant in the past. And I certainly support everything you guys are doing. And the other thing, I think there's been a misconception of our executive action and basically what we're doing at the meeting to find out a way to facilitate this. I'm trying to break it down into layman's terms just so I can understand it. There's far more educated people than myself here. And I'm kind of at a loss. I don't know what to do, but I'm certainly sympathetic to all of your comments and appreciate you coming out here today, talking. So let's see what happens from here.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. We will now proceed with public testimony. We do have 10 testifiers signed up. We're going to start with calling up the first 4. Please note that each testimony will have 3 minutes, and staff will be keeping time of that. So, Corey Harden. Thank you. 9 testifiers. Corey Harden, Judith Mura, Terry Napiahi, and Ronald Fujiyoshi. If you can please come up to the table in front of the commission. You already did, you don't need to? Okay, all right. Terry and Ronald. So, Corey, Judith, Hanalei, Ferguson, and Moani Keala Kaka. You already? Corey, that's right, Corey, okay. All right. We have Judith Mura, Hanalei Ferguson, Moani Keala Kaka, Thomas Travis, Laura Travis, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Hawaii County Planning Commission?
I do.
Thank you. You may begin your testimony. Remember that you have 3 minutes. State your name and place of residence, speaking directly into the microphone.
I guess I'll go first. My name is Judith Mura. I'm a vacation rental owner. The Puna side geothermal is my neighbor. Various reliable scientific studies have enlightened all of us on the health hazards that secondhand smoke, driving while under the influence of alcohol, or breathing hydrogen sulfide pollution are to children, women, men, and animals. And this is the reason health hazard that I'm speaking today. PGV has been a constant source of poison in my community. This poison is exceeded far beyond the need of being regulated or studied. PGV has also countless times proven to my community that they are not able to operate in a safe manner. This is an unfortunate fact for people like me who love their home, love their neighbors, and have the right to clean air, earth, and water. Financially speaking, PGV gives the state of Hawaii $1 million or so yearly. My community that PGV is helping ruin tripled that amount in taxes to the state of Hawaii. Please help us keep Hawaii clean and the poison from being released in my community. Mahalo nui.
Ano ai ke aloha, my name is Moani Keala Akaka. I was one of those, 25, 30 years ago when we started the whole geothermal issue. My daughter at the time was 14 years old. She's now almost 40. So this has been going on for a long time. She, as we're going up to Vaukeli, Opuna.
Excuse me, Moani, where
Yes.
do you live?
I'm sorry, I live in Hilo.
Thank you.
Although we're property owners in Puna as well. She, at the time, we were on our way to Vaukeli, Opuna, and at 14, she said to me, well, Ma, I want to get arrested too. And I said, well, wait a minute, she's 14. And I said, well, if anybody asks you, because I wouldn't want them to think that her mother pushed her into this situation. I said, well, if anyone asks you, what will you say? She said, well, Ma, it's our future too. And with that answer, it was all right with me that she took a stand on the Aina for the present and future generations. As I said, now she's 40 and a mother of an 8-year-old. You know, there's always been concern. At that time, we had a fellow named Marco Notrica, who had his master's degree from Harvard in toxicology, who wrote a study on the detrimental effects of hydrogen sulfide poisoning. Now, this has been going on for over 25, 30 years, and there's still that concern about hydrogen sulfide poisoning and the health of those who are impacted in the area. But how about Native Hawaiians, whose Aina this is, who end up being strangers in our own homeland? And, you know, this whole issue keeps getting swept under the rug. You know, whatever you have to do to fine-tune this issue, you are telling us that it is not that you are against this issue, but that this proposal has to be fine-tuned. Well, you know, you have lawyers, you know, why hasn't it been fine-tuned before now? You know, why does it take a reconsideration of this issue before you do anything about it? You have lawyers working with you. You know, it's your responsibility to get this fine-tuned body who are here to represent our best interests and are here to protect the community. My people end up being strangers in their own homeland. There's no question about the impacts of geothermal development to the health and safety of our Native Hawaiian community and the community at large. So enough is enough. This has been going on for too long. As a trustee of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, I was, when these revenues first came to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, out of principle, you know, I was not for it. So, you know, the buck stops with this body. So let's get the lawyers to work on it, fine-tune this issue so that we may go on and that this issue can be taken care of. As you've been said, the expert is Dr. Edelstein. Have him take care of it. We also know that the 3 out of 4 issues have been no RFPs in the past, so that's certainly your discretion. So we are saying and we are asking you in all humility, let's move on and get this issue taken care of. Mahalo.
Good morning, members. My name is Ronald Ferguson. I'm from the District of Puna. I live in Curtistown. I am particularly interested in having this move forward as quickly as possible because this is the first time I've ever seen somebody start addressing the impacts on Native Hawaiians, because the whole geothermal thing is just it's an assault on our religious backgrounds, and that assault obviously is going to affect our community, the way we conduct our culture, the mindset of Hawaiians who grew up understanding the sacredness of Pele. And to continually watch this raping, and I consider it a rape because there was no gift of Pele. It was rape. She was raped, and it continues. And there are so many things that need to be put on the table, so we have a better understanding. We're not, you know. I'm a member of the community, but I'm also a Hawaiian who is directly impacted by it. I'm also a priest at the Temple of Lona, so it has very, very, very profound impacts on me and also on how I'm able to project or pass on to our younger members of our community what we deem as sacred in Hawaii and why, and how that all fits together. This study is more than overdue, and it's really, as I understand this, it's to conduct a baseline, just a baseline. We're not talking about the ramifications of this study yet. We're not even talking about that part yet. So I don't think there should be any problem with getting this started now, quite frankly. Thank you very much.
My name's Laura Travis, and I live in Puna and have lived there for 4.5 years. I was a member of the mayor's of the Hawaii Geothermal Public Health Assessment Working Group, and in the working group, the other members and I tried to decide how best to determine if there were health effects from geothermal development. We reviewed many studies and examined decades of geothermal development records. Because of this effort, we recommended a study to examine health effects, particularly in Lower Puna. We recently approved the funding of that study. Many of us on the study group were disappointed in only one aspect of our effort, and that was the studies we recommended did not examine the impact on the Native Hawaiians. Because of concern of this issue, my husband worked and others to set it right. They found that Dr. Edelstein had expertise examining such issues and that he had experience in Hawaii. My husband and those that worked with him asked Dr. Edelstein to outline a proposal that could be presented to the Windward Planning Commission. I strongly support you, the commissioners, in funding this effort with Dr. Edelstein. Too often in working groups in our county and in state government, we ignore the challenges faced by Native Hawaiians and we deal with them as an afterthought. I ask today that you reverse this and approve the study again. And I think the study can serve as a pivot for examining Native Hawaiian issues as they relate to future planning and development on this island. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Comments? If none, thank you very much. We have one more testifier, Robert Petricci. If there's anyone else, is there anyone else? If not, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Hawaii County Planning Commission?
Yes.
Thank you. You may begin your presentation.
Thank you.
Testimony by first stating your name and place of residence and speaking directly into the microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Petricci. I represent Punapono Alliance, and I live in Pohiki, Puna. Sorry. Aloha, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to address you on this. I hear what Commissioner Hinkle is saying, and with great regret, I say that it may be better to not release the funds than to have the money go to a study that the community is not going to be represented in. Tom Travis touched on the mayor's health study group report and the selection process. And you know, we came before you guys and we're really grateful that you funded that study. But now, you know, as it moves through the process, it's being changed. And the selection, who selects the, the group that will do the study is important, because we all know that studies can have opposite results. You can have a study done by somebody funded by Monsanto will have a different result than a study funded by public safety or groups. So if you need to make technical changes to the Edelstein study proposal in order for the study to go forward with Edelstein, then make the technical changes. So, you know, Edelstein has already been here and done this type of work in Hawaii before. Why don't we just simply put Edelstein on the county list, and then he can do the same thing that you did with the University of Hawaii? Thank you.
I've got a question.
Commissioner Heokulani.
This isn't as simple as putting Dr. Edelstein on a list. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But what we had anticipated is to have the applicants work with the department to structure the RFP. I don't think there's anyone in the room that wants us to go forward more than I do. And I mean that exactly how I said it. It's not going to do anyone any good to have this proposal get approved by the commission and sit over at financing and not get funded. And that's what'll happen, and you guys can go sue them and try to get it punched out. They've got a legitimate, legally cognizable defense. And so, 2.5, 3 years from now, we still don't have this study moving forward.
I hear you.
So, the concern is, you guys know, how do you pronounce his name? Edelstein?
I don't want to try.
I have a problem with yours, so I don't think that there's I haven't seen anyone suggest anyone that would be able to do the study better than he. But he's not even going to get that shot if we don't take steps to get this in line with procurement code. I agree that the attorneys we should have known before this at Kalamai, Hawaii. But it is what it is. And I also agree that justice delayed is justice denied, but you want to see a delay. Kick this over to finance and let them sit on it for a couple of years.
I don't want to see that.
Neither do I.
Well, I would say that where there's a will, there's a way. I've seen it many times with wanting to help geothermal, like PGV, special laws, special rules, administrative amendments. I mean, it seems like if you want to help a corporation like PGV, you can find a way to do it. But if you want to help the native Hawaiian population, there's a roadblock, there's a problem. You can't get it done. I think you guys can find a way to get it done. And we know that, I think we all know Edelstein's probably the right guy to do this study.
Well, if that's true, then the applicants in the department can form up the process so that he's the likely candidate.
We're willing to work on it. I guess I can't speak for everybody. Like you say, we haven't had a chance to discuss this as a group, and so I can tell you.
This was a surprise to me. I'm telling you, this was.
And we want to get it done, and if that's what it takes to get it done, fine. But I hate to see that be a 2-year process. So whatever ideas you come up with would be greatly appreciated. We want to help with that. And, if it takes the group coming in to sit down with the county, we'll do that, I think.
Yes, Commissioner Hinkle.
When this came up at our last meeting a month ago, all of us were as surprised as anyone that we were being asked to reconsider, and I assumed the worst. But, in defense, it's because of the Sunshine Law and transparency that we delayed it till now to open the discussion rather than have it then with none of you guys present, So maybe the best thing to do is to postpone it for another month and allow everybody to kind of prepare.
I do not know the answer to that question,
Well,
Mr. Hinkle.
so
I don't know the answer.
Any other comments, questions? If not, thank you. Yeah, we're going to ask Mr. Brillhante if he would like to address the 4 prior studies.
Again, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners, William Brillhante, Assistant Corporation Counsel. There was a question earlier posed by Commissioner Heokulani regarding the 4 previous awarded or approved claim applications submitted to the Planning Commission. And I just wanted to clarify the record as it relates to each study. I got confirmation from the Mayor's office that the groundwater study was awarded to the USGS, which is a governmental entity. The metadata study was awarded to the UH Medical School, again, another governmental entity. The air quality monitors was awarded pursuant to our standard procurement equipment list. They're a contractor on our equipment list. That item will not go through a RFP because the RFP is a request for proposals, which is more analogous to some type of study or consultation. And then the final item, the brine pond, was awarded to an individual who's on the county's professional services list. And that's how those items were specifically addressed. And the reason I brought this point up is because pursuant to the HRS, as I alluded to earlier, section 103D-102B, section 2G, specifically states that if a governmental entity is going to be awarded a contract from the County of Hawaii, then they do not have to go to the competitive bid process. They still have to comply with procurement regulations, but they don't have to go through a competitive bid process. And that's the same for individuals who are on the county's professional services list. Again, I just wanted to reiterate the fact that nobody's here, nobody from the county is here, specifically not me, is here to make representations regarding the validity of the study or the proposed study. We're not here, again, addressing the substantive issues of the study. That's not what we're here to do today. All we're here to do today is to correct potential procedural defects that the Office of Corporation Counsel became aware of, once this matter was, approved by the Commission. There's been concern regarding, why more information wasn't provided in the agenda, based on the reconsideration. And I'm glad somebody alluded to it. I believe it was you, Commissioner Hinkle, or correct me if I'm wrong, but because of sunshine law requirements, when the motion to reconsider was first proposed by Commissioner Ikeda, we were precluded from having additional discussions regarding that matter. And if I were to then individually address each of the commissioners, subsequent to that meeting, I would have been violating the sunshine law. So it's unfortunate that, the process is, the way it is, but, just for fairness and equity to all, the item of reconsideration of the application was properly agendized. Anybody in the community who had concern or who wanted to be here today was afforded that opportunity in a timely manner. And like I said, it is what it is. It's a process, and we're just trying to comply with the requirements of the process. And again, the reason for that is because we don't want it challenged. We don't want the record challenged, just like we don't want the procurement issues challenged down the road. And because, like Commissioner Heokolani said, is failure to act, it will be an injustice to all. We don't want this matter stuck in the red tape of bureaucracy. So that's again the county's position. Thank you.
Any questions, commissioners? Thank you. So can no further testimony from the public? Can we have a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
It was moved by Commissioner Hinkle and seconded by Commissioner Ikeda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Commissioner Ikeda, at the last hearing you moved to reconsider agenda item 6 before us now. Do you affirm or withdraw your motion to reconsider at this time?
I affirm.
Is there a second?
The last thing in the world I thought I was going to do today is support a reconsideration of our approval of this funding for this study. I came loaded up today to fight on the merits like almost everyone else in this room. But I can't let this go and just float over there into nowhere land and the study never get done. I'll second the motion.
Upon Commissioner Ikeda's motion to reconsider and second by Commissioner Hale Kalani, the motion for reconsideration is now open for discussion. Commissioner Ikeda.
Yes, believe it or not, I do support the funding for the study. And this is the only way we can save your money or have the money or the study funded, otherwise you'll be stuck in the finance department. And most of the problems are procedural problems. And I think, I really believe, like it says, only identify one vendor, create a Native Hawaiian Health Study Review Board, and some of the Rule 12 of the geothermal fund. I think all of these things can be worked out if the group get together with the planning department. And so that's the reason for the consideration. It's not that we're against funding the study. We support the study. I think everyone here supports the study. We just want to make sure that you're getting it or do it correctly. Otherwise, you'll never get done. And you guys, like something like making you feel good, it goes to the finance and then nothing gets done. This way, at least it can move forward.
Commissioners? Any further discussion?
Oh, my strong suggestion, and thank you, Commissioner Ikeda, I appreciate your support. My strong suggestion and recommendation is that the applicant, that we remand this to the department, have the applicants meet with the department, have them structure the RFP, and then, I've been through that process before. You can structure that in a way so that the list of eligible candidates is relatively narrow. That's my strong recommendation, that we remand this to the department, ask the applicants to meet for purposes of structuring the RFP.
So just to clarify, at this stage though, we need to vote on the motion to reconsider before any other motion for further action is taken. Yeah. So, Chair.
If there is no further discussion, staff, please take roll.
Madam Chair, can I have a moment here? The awarding of funds from the Geothermal Asset Fund is kind of interesting for our department because the sole recommendation that comes before the commission is from the claims adjuster. And as you notice, we don't provide any recommendation. The way the rules are structured, the claims adjuster is the only recommendation that the commission has to consider. That being the case, it was clear to us from the last vote what the intentions and where the commission wanted to go. When we get that kind of indication from the commission, we support that decision, 100%. In this particular instance, it should have, we should have made the commission aware that there were some issues with this, with the action they took, but nevertheless, that action was in response to the claims adjuster's recommendation and not necessarily the department's. If the commission goes ahead and remands this award back to the department for us to work with the applicants to perfect an RFP that will accomplish what they want to do. If I can get a commitment, and I'm pretty sure I can, from the applicants that if we can work with a designated representative from one of their group, they can get together and do that. I personally will make sure that this RFP gets put together, gets formatted, and gets processed in the most expeditious way I can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kanuha. If there is no further discussion, staff, please take roll.
Commissioner Ikeda,
Aye.
Commissioner Kulani,
Aye.
Commissioner Hinkle,
Aye.
Commissioner Ono, and Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman, motion for reconsideration carries with 5 aye votes.
Thank you. The commission will now entertain any motions for action. Commissioners?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we remand this matter to the department with the request and thanks to the applicants that they would take the time to sit with the department to structure the RFP in such a way to, as expeditiously as possible, put this project out for bid so we can get this study underway.
Second.
It was moved by Commissioner Kulani and seconded by Commissioner Ikeda. Any discussion? If there is no further discussion, staff, please take roll.
Sorry, I think we just need to make a clarification with the motion. Because the application doesn't reference the RFP. So if we could just clarify that that's to remand to the department for the applicants to work with the department to structure an RFP and to restructure the application accordingly.
That's fair enough. I'll modify my motion as such.
Second.
Second.
It was moved by Commissioner Kulani and seconded by Commissioner Ikeda. Any discussion? If there is no public testimony is already closed.
That was a good question, clarification.
Staff, please take roll.
Commissioner Kulani,
Aye.
Commissioner Ikeda,
Aye.
Commissioner Hinkle,
Aye.
Commissioner Ono, Madam Chairwoman.
Aye.
Madam Chairwoman, motion to remand carries with 5 aye votes.
Thank you. The motion passes. Claimants will be notified of the Commission's decision in writing. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to approval of the minutes.